It seems like we can probably get started here pretty quickly. Looks like most everyone has sat down. I will introduce myself to you. Maybe some people online who haven't met me yet. My name is Jay Ledbetter. I dressed up tonight in my duds, my best outfit. The reason I felt compelled to do that is John found a promotional photo of me in this very exact outfit, and so I thought I better wear it so that people might recognize me. So if you think I'm a little overdressed for tonight, well, it's on purpose. It's on purpose. I'm here to give you a report about what has happened and what is happening in South Central Africa. Primarily Zambia is the country, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. I've got the clicker here. We will see if I can operate it. It has 4 buttons, which gives me a 25% chance of getting it right. So let's see here. Hot dog, there it is. Let me give you a brief history of the relationship between Alex Yalenga and myself. Alex grew up in one of the little villages that doesn't even have a name. It's just beside a dirt road in Zambia. He was just a young child. He was the only boy in his family. And so he would get up and go get water for the entire family every morning. He took some jugs and he went to a well and he got water and he brought it back so everybody would have something to drink. And he would also tend to the crops and he would also tend to the animals. Other than that, he didn't really have much to do. But still, one of the things he did was, well, I'll explain that in just a second. Let me tell you how he got to that point. Alex was in line to be a leader of his tribe. If not one of the elders, he was going to be the chief of the tribe. He was in that lineage and on his way to that as a young man. He was really wanting to do it right. And so he kept thinking, how do I lead these people? What do I do to be a good leader for these people? And someone said, well, have you tried reading a Bible? And he said, what's that? Well, it's a book where one of the gods talked about everything of life. Oh, okay. Now, Alex had tried just about every of the, I don't think they have over 300 gods in Africa. So I think he tried them all one a day, I guess, for a period of time. And he said, well, a Bible, huh? Where would I find one? Well, turns out it was in Lusaka. Lusaka is the capital of Zambia. Oh, it's just up the road 30 miles. And so he got his food together. He got a little bit of money together so he could make it. And he got out on the road and started walking. He walked 30 miles to Lusaka, not knowing where he was going, not knowing where he would find a Bible. But the Lord led him, and he wound up at the university because it had a library. Only library was the university library. Now, when he was in the university library, he went to the counter and said, do you have a Bible? Yes, we do. Can I look at it? No. Well, why? Because you're not a student here. It's a university library. You are not a student, so it's not for you. I guess the look on Alex's face turned the heart of the librarian because the librarian said, well, okay. It's right over here. I'll show you. I'll get it off the shelf for you. I'll put it on the table. You sit right here and you read it. Don't take it away. You can't have it. You can't take it, but you can read it. And you got to be right here. And so he did. He read it like any other book. He opened it to the front and started reading. And he read as far as he could. It finally got dark. And they said, we're closing the library. So he put a marker and he put it back on the shelf and he had to leave. And I have seen the place in the city park where he slept under a tree. And then he would get back up in the morning and go in again. And would go until he ran out of food, money, and time, and he would walk back to his village 30 miles. And he would do it all over again. He would He would tend all the crops. He would get ahead in his work. He would get everything set for the family so he could spend a couple of days away, and he started walking again. And so he did this twice a week, 30 miles, 30 miles back, twice a week for 7 years. Now, somebody did the math on that one day when I was making this presentation. They told me how far he walked, and I didn't want to hear that number. It had a comma in it. It was a big number. It got to be that people who were driving down the road would know him. They would wave to him because they saw him so often. But Alex finally read through the entire Bible during that period of time. And in doing so, he came to faith. He said, yeah, this is the real God. Not the ones that we've been talking about, not the ones, the tribal gods, not the pagan things. This is the real God. He read the whole thing. And that's one of the reasons I call him my twin brothers, because that's how I came to faith. In fact, when we started talking about our lives, they have been so parallel as to be remarkable. But that wasn't where it ended for Alex, because he says, well, I now need to find. Well, first of all, let me tell you what happened next. It was not good. He goes to his village now. He's fully convinced of our God being the true God, and he says, I'm going to show my people. They need to know what I know. And so he told them, and they accepted with great joy. No, the opposite, actually. They kicked him out of the village. So he has just come to faith, just now come to faith, and now he's also homeless and been excommunicated. He's been kicked out, whatever it is, of his village and his people. And so he starts wondering. 5 more years he is homeless, constantly on the search for Jewish people who love Yeshua, which many people call Jesus. Yeshua, same guy. And so, but he's working where he can. He's doing what he can. He found the home of a Jewish person, and he sat outside the wall of that home. All the homes there have walls because of the crime. He just sat up against the wall and put his hand up against it and said, Dear God, would you please, please, please allow me to meet one of your people? Somehow, and I'm still fuzzy on how this all happened, he wound up in England. Quite a swim across the channel, but he can't walk it, so I guess he got there somehow. He was at a conference trying to find Jewish people who love Yeshua. And he met this lady there who lived in Monument, Colorado, just between Colorado Springs and Denver. And she said, oh, I know where they are. Where are they? She said, Denver, America. That precious lady bought him a ticket on an airplane to Denver, America. So he flies from London to Denver, somehow winds his way to our little congregation in Denver. And it was a Friday evening, and Pam, I brought Pam early because she was part of the dance team, and they needed to kind of warm up and practice before the services began, which is beautiful. But I'm just sitting there pretty much by myself in the congregation, sitting at the end of the row where I always sit, because I may need to escape. I've been known to say things that get rocks thrown. But having said that, I'm sitting there on the end of the row because that's just where I like to be anyway. As it turns out, Pam's up there dancing, and I'm by myself just depressurizing from an amazingly difficult week. And so I'm just falling into God's arms. I'm kind of almost leaning back in the chair. I'm not asleep, but I am just, my eyes are glazed over because, wow, Shabbos finally. And so I'm sitting there, and this young black kid comes walking in the shul and steps right up beside me on the left. He's just standing there looking around like this. I go, well, I'm doing nothing. I stand up, stick out my hand, and I said, hi, I'm Jay Ledbetter. He says, I'm Alex Yalenga. And the first thing out of my mouth is, you're not from around here, are you? And he wasn't. He told me his story that I've just told you. And I went to our chief rabbi. I said, Bert, Bert Yellen's his name. You'll get to see a picture of him a little later. Bert, this guy, you got to hear his story. And so Bert takes him aside and says, "Tell me your story." And Alex tells him the story. And Bert says, "I had an amazing message prepared for tonight, but I'm not going to give it. Alex, get up here and tell these people your story." So poor Alex, he finally finds Jews, and he doesn't get 5 minutes rest. He's sitting up in front. He's never been up in front. He doesn't know what to do up in front. But there he is. And of course, we all fell in love with him. Speaking of messages, because I'm doing the presentation, I didn't give you a message tonight, but I got one printed out back there on the seat. So if you want to take it with you, and if you need more, let me know, because I think we can print more. It's on today's Torah portion. But anyway, back to the point. And so from that point forward, see, I was sitting there praying, and I had been praying for many weeks. I said, "Lord, would you use me more? I'm not getting used enough. I feel like I'm on the bench too much. Put me in the game, coach. Give me the ball. I want to do something for you more than I'm doing." And Alex is walking in the door saying, "Please show me Jews that love you." And pretty soon we've got our hands together saying hello. That's where it all began. And that's been 22, 23, 24 years ago now. That's kind of where it began. And we're going to talk about how that's all worked out. There's a lot more about Alex and I, but that's enough for now. Several years of trips to Zambia followed that. By the way, I didn't go immediately, although Alex was asking me, "Jay, you got to come to Zambia." And I, over a period of years, developed a number of really effective excuses. In fact, I had them almost like cards in a hand. I could play the right excuse at the right time to avoid going to Zambia. No matter what he brought up, I went, "Yeah, this will do." Bing. And then one day, and I can actually point to the place on the ground where the car was when he did this, I think the Spirit of the Lord got into his heart and says, I know. I'll give you what to say. This time it'll work." He said, "My daughter's going to have a bat mitzvah this coming year, and I heard my mouth say, 'I'll be there,' before my brain could shut it off." Well, once a man's got to be a man of his word, so I'd committed myself. Well, so I had to do that. But let me tell you how and there were 50 obstacles in that first trip. It was like giants in the land, okay? But one by one, the Lord resolved them all until I'm on a plane to Zambia. And I thought, wow. And when I got there, I had no idea what the Lord would do. See, I kept thinking, I said, "Alex, look at my face. I'm the wrong color." You hadn't noticed, although I introduced him as my twin brother. And he does the same for me, and you should hear the people gasp. But I said, and I don't speak the language. I don't know the customs. There's nothing I can do there that you can't do better. And I know what it costs to come and go, so how about if I just give you the money and you do it? I'll pray he can support you here. But I'd already committed, so I went. I had no idea. It turned out that there were 18 people who had come to faith that were not going to go to the mikveh, were not going to go be baptized until I got there. They said, "You got to be it. You got to do it. We're not going to have anybody else." Okay. Who am I? I'm not all that. But that was their wish, and so we did it that way. So we had a bat mitzvah for his first daughter. And so I went in 2016 and 2018. I think Pam went with me. When did you go, Pam, the first one? She went in 2016. I went in 2018. I think you went in 19 again. Yeah, what we're doing is she has to come. She's already committed. She's about as bad as I am. She's made a promise. to be there for the bat mitzvah of all of his daughters. And by the way, there are 5 daughters. Alex is the Tevye of Zambia. 20 and 21 and 22. Actually, I was there in the early times of 22 for a special ceremony there, and then they closed the border down. I was on the last plane out. I mean, the last plane out. Alex says, "You were on that last plane." They shut the place down. Nobody came, nobody went because of, well, fear. So let's talk about where is Zambia? Do you see it there in the middle? Right smack in the middle. If you look at the big map and you back it off and you look at there's this green stripe that goes across Africa. There's desert up north and there's desert down south, and there's green in the middle. This is in the south third of that green stripe. You're going to get to see how green it is. And I wanted to go back because I found, and I don't know how to explain this. I can't. I will describe it, but I won't explain it because I don't know. But I will tell you, yes, I can do things in Africa that Alex can't. And no, I don't understand it at all. I will embrace it and I will do it. So now let's look at what caused the problem. It was actually fear that caused the problem. They closed the country down. They were mandating this and mandating that, and everybody was operating in great amounts of fear. Kind of like here, except worse. And finally, in March of 2022, they reopened the border. Yay, I said, I'm coming. But we really couldn't because, well, there were spring floods. And you remember me coming and saying, boy, I wish I could have come, but there were floods. Let me give you some pictures of some of those floods. That is Lusaka, guys. That's what Lusaka looked like. But the villages were just as bad. There's a picture of some villages. One of the big ministries we did was in the Mumbwa district. And there's what that looked like. Pretty deep water there. And it's actually going down. You can see the stain on the side of the buildings up above where the windows even are. And another place we do a lot of ministry is in the Luangwa district. And, well, that's what that looked like. So the chances of me getting it, well, I could get there. And if I could get off the plane and wade through a mud puddle to get to that terminal building, we couldn't go to the bush. I mean, you can't drive through this. You can't even walk through it. So I said, all right, Lord, the waters will go down just like they did in the days of Noah. But what we will do is get ready. So I did. I packed the things I needed to bring. So Alex had given me a list, and I took some care of some other things. He wanted 4 stands for flags because he puts flags in his congregation. He wanted 4 stands, and so I got those. I had some Seder plates. You can see those brown plates that were handmade here in Texas, and those were destined to give to royalty. You can see a bunch of books, and then you can see a bunch more books, big old line of books. You probably have seen the Walk series by Jeff Feinberg, an amazing scholar. What an amazing guy. I love Jeff. He was one of my professors in yeshiva. So I got my stuff ready. So I could go in the fall. The waters finally went down. And so let's talk about what it takes to go. Well, it's not hard. All it takes is 3.5 hours from here to DFW. After that, getting on one of these airplanes, and you're saying, yeah, hey, isn't that an Arab airline? Well, yeah, it is. Why do I fly on an Arab airline? Because it's cheaper. I am Jewish. And they have great service. The thing that's weird, though, when you go through the security line, you can't even have a nail clipper, right? You can't have anything that might be sharp, right? Do you realize they give you real silverware with a real knife in the airplane? If you don't think that was freaking me out on one of the trips when I was seated right next to an imam, you are wrong. because I said, any minute now, I'm going to drop something on the floor. I'm going to go, oi, and this guy's going to slice me right up. There were a few surprises on that. And one of them was this guy right there. I had actually bought a little bit more expensive one of those exit rows where you could sit and really make your legs go someplace where that made sense. And so and nobody else was in the row. And this guy gets up from his seat way back in the cabin and walks forward and plops down right, not next to me, but right next to the other chair. I'm on the end and he's now against the window. This guy, I'd never told him really who I am because, well, obviously, let me start. It's an Arab airline, right? This guy's clearly a Muslim. How do I know that? Because he couldn't stop telling me how the Palestinians were the rightful owners of Israel and on and on and on. And I smiled and I shut up. You'll be proud of me. You would be very proud of me. I didn't say, oh no, and then because I could have argued point for point, I didn't. Thank you very much, Lord. The Spirit of God gave me discernment. Here's another surprise, which was amazing. I want you to look at this. They served us food. It's an Arab airline. They serve halal food, right? Which is kosher-ish. I want you to look at the butter chips. Look really, really close to the right above on the left-hand side, above the little numbers. You see a circle with a U in it? That's a hechsher. Look at the honey roasted sesame chips. Look to the right of the bottom. There's a circle K there, also a hechsher. The Philadelphia cream cheese. Look to the right of the word Philadelphia. They're serving kosher food on an Arab airline. The irony was rich. It was delightful. I loved it. So, but the trip's not over with. 12:15. I depart DFW for Dubai on only a 15-hour flight. I arrived noon the next day in Dubai. 21-hour layover there. Because, well, I had missed, because the schedule from DFW can't get there in time to catch another plane to Lusaka. So you got to overnight. Let me show you that airport in Dubai. That's it. That's the most amazing airport facility. You can walk for miles and never get out from under that cover. This thing is a phenomenal airport. They actually put me up in a hotel room because I had overnight. I thought, wow, these guys are great. Maybe the imam with the knife is still okay. And there is the inside of the terminal. Isn't this phenomenal? That's just one tiny little piece. But even with all these advances, even with all of the high end, we are modern. There was this. You might recognize that if you've been overseas in an Arab country. Yeah, I get a nod or two. It's not a place where you wash your hands. No, this is what passes for a commode in that terminal. Okay. Let me talk about another surprise. This was the best surprise of all. This was the best surprise of all. You see this guy? I took a picture with my phone way far away because I didn't want to get too close. What you can't see from where you're seated is something that I could see very clearly. First of all, the guy's got payas and a kippah. I'm saying, this guy's a yid. Of course, he's back in a corner where nobody can get behind him. I get that. I truly. Here's a yid riding on an. Oh yeah, me too. Except I'm kind of undercover, right? I'm James Bond here, but he's sticking out. Nobody gonna. So I depart that airport at 9:15 a.m. for Lusaka, a 7-hour flight. I will arrive in Lusaka at 2:20 p.m. How many days of travel is this? And the answer is I have no idea, because I'm crossing time zones like crazy. Finally, I can say welcome to Africa. Just Finally. And the next thing, I want to show you how the suburbs of Lusaka appear. John, if you'd run that video.
I'm going to try it. I can't figure it.
That's fine. No, it's all good. Yep.
There you go. Thank you. And then there's this. There. Did I activate it again, John? Who knows? Maybe I have a magic button. There's a typical village. That's what the villages look like. Remember I told you how green it was? Well, there it is, green as it can be. Once you get out of town, there's actual trees and grass. But that's what the villages look like. That's how they live. And I want to show you. Here's how they survive. See these youngsters? This is right beside the road. This is a place where they sell things. They're selling these great big white things. What are these white things, you may ask? Thank you for asking. Those are mushrooms. Yeah. I guess I didn't, but some people do. And so finally, here we go, is we're finally really starting the ministry piece. I'm doing an Erev Shabbat at the home of a fellow by the name of Mwitwa Resser. You will get to see him a couple, 3 times as we go through here. He is one of the major players in Zambia. Mwitwa actually works for what would be the equivalent of the FAA in Zambia. He manages some of the search and rescue operations of Zambia. And there he is in his home for a Shabbat service. You can see the challah there, and you can see 2 candles lit. And you see that's his Hanukkah. Do you see the extra holes there? So Mwitwa lives in Lusaka, and we went to his home for an Erev Shabbat. And there's all the people that were there for the Erev Shabbat. Now, next morning, I was at Shabbat services at the main congregation in Lusaka. The main congregation that Alex that's his home base, okay? And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Well, first of all, I want to show you what it used to look like. See that? Straight ahead on the left-hand side of the flagpoles is the synagogue. That's their congregational building. They built that themselves, every bit of it. The congregation built, no outside contractors. The right-hand side is an orphanage. That was a lot of the work and a lot of the materials were donated from America, and it was built there. You'll see flags. By the way, it's really convenient for the orphans to come to congregation, right? You walk across there, you're there. The flags, the flag you see closest, the green one, is the flag of Zambia. The next one, the white one, you really can't see it well, but that's the flag of Israel. And the next one you see and you say, hey, that looks like the American flag. Well, that's because it is. That's the American flag. He flies them all. And so the government thinks that since he's flying flags of those nations, he must be getting lots of money from those nations, and they come to accept bribes or just try and shut him down. That's how sweet they are. Yes, dear. there are only about 70 tribes in Africa, that part of Africa. So the answer is none or all. Yeah. I'll introduce you to a couple of the people groups as we go through, okay? But the giving of the United States is so robust that guess what's happened? Do you see that? Same location, same direction, same picture, but what's different? Pavement. No longer do they have to walk across the mud to get to the congregation. There's actual paving stones there. That happened while I was there this time. Isn't that delightful? And that's going out to the road, right straight out to the road from the same location, just turning left and pointing out that way. And that is delightful. It's just amazing. I want to introduce you to Michael Ayeni. He's the new associate leader at Zambia Messianic Fellowships. Michael has been there for many years. He was the worship leader. He has gone and received a degree in Bible studies and such, so he is qualified, and he is an amazing leader. This man is the right one. I'm telling Alex, you got the right guy. You absolutely got the right guy. This is Alex Yalenga, if you haven't met him. There he is, right next to some other guy that's not wearing a suit, but hey, it could be the same time. And now I want to show you what worship looked like in this particular congregation this morning. Who you will see, Faye Yalenga is up front. Two of the young ladies, I think it's two of them, certainly one at least, is one of Alex's daughters. I think they are both there. Yeah. So hit the video and let's listen to them praise the Lord from that place. Or not. There we go. Somewhere in there is a video. Ah. Thank you. While we were there, Alex was told, hey, you better grab a newspaper. So he went and got a newspaper, and guess what he saw? Something I can't show you. There's what he saw. You can see him reading it on the right, but I've zoomed in on the headlines, which says, Mumbwa's health challenges unveiled. The Mumbwa district is where the Lemba people are. And it says right below that, Zambia Messianic Fellowship responds to need. He got national coverage. for this. This is amazing. And now I want to introduce you to somebody very special. The Queen of the Goba people, southern Zambia, right down on the Zambezi River. I want to back up to 2016. You see a lady in with sort of military garb, a brown outfit. That is the Queen's bodyguard. The lady that's standing next to the lady in brown, that's holding something in her hand, that's the Queen. The guy on the beside the podium is me, and beside me is Faye Yalinga. Why am I clapping? I will tell you what she has just said. She has just announced that the tribal god of the Goba people is finished in her lands. Finished in her lands. She is a believer. How'd you get to be a believer? Well, it's a fairly fun story. She prayed. Faye actually found a way to get her to Jerusalem. So she wanted to go to Jerusalem and see Jewish people. And she was there, and she got so amazed and so blown away. She came home and she was praying. I didn't know any of this, by the way. Alex told me later. She was praying, please send one of your people to come and bless my land. And that year, I came. And Alex says, do you have any idea that you were an answer to her prayer? I went, no. I just knew that I needed to meet her. And I did. And what she's holding in her hand is a mezuzah, a hand-carved mezuzah, which in fact was made by one of the sweet ladies in our congregation in Colorado Springs. That was in 2016. Now, there she is again at her home. She invites us to her home. Who goes to the home of a queen? I guess we do. I don't get it. But there's Alex and Faye Yalinga and the Queen of the Goba, a delightful lady whose faith is strong. By the way, when she came to faith, only 5 of her, what they call headmen, a headman is a chief of a village or town, okay? Kind of like a mayor or city council. Only 5 of the 30 some odd would agree with her. The rest of them wanted to kill her. Today, it's reversed. All but 5 have become faith, have come to faith. Her whole people have come to faith. In fact, there are 30,000 people in this tribe who have come to faith. Do you hear me on that? What Livingston would have loved to have seen, I'm watching happen. Wow. It's such a privilege to even see this stuff go on. And so what I did while in her home, and it looks funny there, they had to turn on some lights because the power went out. And that happens in Africa. The power goes out. I gave her one of those. I gave her some books, and I gave her a Seder plate. The book I'm giving her is a book called the Mitzvot. It's a book on the commandments of all Scripture. And I told her, I said, these are really good rules to govern your tribe by. I don't know. You might want to give it a try. Next place we went was the congregation in Ndola. Ndola is way up north. It's just almost to the tip top of Zambia. It's in what they call the copper belt. There's this huge copper deposit up there, and there are gobs of mines, and they're just pulling copper out of the ground like crazy. And a whole city was built on that. And so we went to that place for a congregational meeting. And there they are. That's the congregation. Well, I didn't even get them all in the picture, but you can see some of them. They're praising the Lord in Ndola. And that's a school. And there it is, Mwitwa, again, on the left. The left picture is Mwitwa. On the bottom picture, on the right-hand side, is his wife. And then there's that guy that you probably know up there on the top. And we're doing a Bible study after the services are over. They love studying Scripture, guys. They do. Mwitwa lives in Zambia, drives all the way up to Ndola. It's about 4 or 5 hour trip. Conducts services, and then goes home. This guy's dedicated. And then we had a leadership conference that we did while we were there. And here's that. They rented a little meeting room in a hotel, and we had a visual presentation. I taught them about the festivals of, of Leviticus 23. It was wonderful. And now we are branching out. Let me show you what happens next. We have a congregation in Malawi that we have never visited. They've come to faith. They want to be under the leadership and the headship of Zambia Messianic Fellowship, and we have brought them under, but neither Alex nor I had ever been there. So we went. Let's take a look. What does Malawi look like? You can see it's right there beside Zambia. It's actually, if you look at the map of Africa, it's just the right-hand side of Zambia. Zambia is on the left. On the right-hand side, Malawi is almost a third water. That's a huge, huge, huge lake. Natural lake there. So how do you get there? You get there on one of these things. That's about as good as it gets right there, guys. And then you go to a place. This is the Kamuzu International Airport. Big deal. By the way, Malawi has about the same population as Zambia and about 1/4 the area. Really strange. So we went from there to a hotel that Alex said, because we got to be careful where we stop. You see, if we stop at the wrong hotel, we will not survive till the next day. Because, well, there are pirates. There are bad guys all over Africa. And if they know you're there and you're unprotected, they will come and get you and do bad things and take all your money and maybe whatever else. So we went from that to a really nice hotel. Now, this really nice hotel just happens to be built and run by Chinese people. The Chinese are desperately trying to get a foothold in Africa. I mean, they are desperately. They're paying gobs of money to the politicians to bribe them to make sure that they have all the infrastructure, they get all the whatever they want. Okay? By the way, the new president of Zambia kicked him out. So proud of that guy. I was until he met with Kamala yesterday. Anyway, back to the point. I need some help at this point. This is going to be a little interactive because I want you to help me. Some of you people who understand foreign languages, I want to be safe, but I need to know what to do with my CHSH, chish. Chish, I guess is what it is. If you know what chish is, please tell me because I still, till today, don't know. And there's also valuable good sin. I don't know what a valuable good sin is, but this was a sign I saw in the hotel room. For your safety, please keep chush and valuable good sin head stage. I'm still lost on head stage. But apparently there's valuable good sin to be had there and also chush. So I don't know what chush is. But at least in the room I can run the air conditioner, can't I? Because they have remote controls. And so there is the remote control for the air conditioner. And if any of you can read Chinese, you could tell me what the buttons mean. I decided not to touch any of them. I decided not to touch any button. Well, at least I can grab a meal. I'll go to Faye and Alex and I go to the restaurant, and we said, okay, let's go. At least we can eat. And if we're careful, we'll get to eat something we can eat because we know Chinese folks eat pretty much anything. And so this was on the menu, and I just had to get a picture of it. There's ultimate plain fries, deep fried crispy potatoes served with tomato sauce, and that's 4,000 kwacha. How do they do it so cheaply? There's masala fries, golden fried potato with spices. But the next one kind of caught my attention. A chicken and cheese lollipop? No, thank you. And so but I wanted to show you that and that's 5,500. There must be some lollipop. Yes. Darling, you got to pick and choose. You really, really, really got to watch. And you got to ask lots of questions. Uh, and I'm not so sure that since I don't speak Chinese, I got good answers. But we stopped then in the main city, which is, by the way, where we are. It's Lilongwe, and I realized that when I got there, I was a really long way from home. Come on, guys, that was funny. Thank you. At least a courtesy laugh. Jeez. Lilongwe is the capital city, and I was a real Lilongwe from. All right, never mind. No, I'm doing no good. I'm dying here. That's a hard room. And here's another thing. We were close to a police station, and they had a little a fenced-in area that had a barbed wire across the top of it, and it had a big iron locked door. And I took a picture of it. Alex says, "Don't take a picture. The police will get mad at you for taking a picture." I said, "I'll do it anyway." I did it very secretly. I do not know what's in that behind those doors. But whatever is behind that door will poop you like you ain't been pooped before. So whatever's in there will poop you. Okay, now, whatever they're feeding that thing, they better find something else. I'm showing you by far the at least, okay, now I got him. Now I got a real genuine laugh out of the guy. This is by far the most common mode of transportation in all of Malawi, right there. But if you really got some cash and got some bucks, then you can upgrade to that. Yeah. But if you have to haul a load into town because you have to sell something to keep your family alive, sometimes you do that. And no, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they get the last 10 feet of those logs up there on top of that frame. And I don't know how they keep the tires from going flat. There's lots of things I don't know about Malawian culture. But that I saw a lot. I said, "Guys, stop. I got to have a picture of this. Nobody's going to believe this." Go ahead and play this video. This is a typical city. Go ahead, John. This is a typical, basically, city along the road. And that decimal on the sign, it reads in thousands, not singles. So let's talk about it. Boy, howdy, John. Somehow I'm starting this thing. So we got finally for the first time, to this congregation in a little town called Mazuzu, which is about halfway up the side of that lake, okay? It's also a fairly big city. They rented this particular church for the service for that day. They've been meeting in homes, but this is where they stopped, and because they knew we were coming, and they really wanted to have a nice place for us to be. From the rising of the sun to the setting of the sun, your name is to be hallowed, Adonai, Let's see if I can. Yes, back to Zambia. So after an amazing day of ministry with those people there, and we encouraged them, then we came on back to Zambia. And that's how I got there with this airplane. But wait, what's going on? They're changing the tires. Something wrong with the tires on the air. Well, good, change them now before I get on. And I don't know what the guy's doing on the ladder there beside the motor. Maybe he's saying, what's this thing? Should I turn it? Should it be falling off? What troubles me is all the oil stains underneath the engine. No, don't look at that. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. That means nothing, hopefully. There's a reason, I think, that maybe, there's a friend of mine who says he doesn't believe that God intended us to fly at all. He says, the scripture says, and lo, I shall be with you. Okay, all right. Come on, a courtesy laugh would be nice there. All right, so it's November 21st. I'm back in Zambia. The plan was this. Since I was out of the country, I could reapply for a new visa, and they would kick it off and make it all over again. And the Zambian immigration officer, I'm standing there all by myself, says, you can stay in Zambia only another 16 days. And I said, but I don't go back until December 18th. Now, you can do the math, but you can't get to December 18th from November 21st in 16 days. So, uh-oh. They were serious. I mean, Alex even came and tried to argue with the lady, and she said, nope. You can't stay any longer than that. Ow. So that didn't work. I wonder what else is going to happen to me. That's going to be. Well, let's go from the scary to the joyful. And we got an invitation to come to Kenya. Alex and I did, and it was from these guys. What you see there is, you see the guy on the far left in the striped shirt is Bishop Isaac Chadangoma. He is the overseer of the Apostolic Faith Mission of Central Region of Zambia. Big deal. Okay? The guy next to him in the tan is he calls himself apostle. Guys, you have to understand, African, they really like titles, and they try to outdo one another in titles. It's not so much about doing stuff, it's about printing good business cards. Apostle Ken Baraza of Kenya. He's the second from the left. He's a church planter and a missionary who's having great success in Kenya, and he's told Alex and I, you guys got to come to Kenya. Okay, maybe so. I don't know. But we'll see. It won't be this year. It might. You don't know. So the next thing is we go up to Solwezi. Now, where is Solwezi? Farther north still. You got to get past Ndola, up past the Copper Belt. You got to go way up in the edge of the Congo to get there. Solwezi is dangerous country. That's how I got there, is on one of those. And when we landed, this is the Solwezi International Airport. The Solwezi, people ask me, is it dangerous? Yes. That part of Africa is really dangerous. I mean, right up against the Congo. I mean, at one point you turn left, and if you just go straight another 50 yards, you're in Congo. The road to get to Solwezi, you're right there. I could throw a rock into Congo. And what's worse, there are, I'll call them bandits, that roam the southern Congo border, and they are bad folks. Alex and I, when we would go up there on trips, he would register us in the hotel, and then he would switch rooms with me. I didn't even know it, but I knew why now later, because he said sometimes the bandits work with the desk personnel, and when they get people they think's got money, they will tell the desk personnel to get a key and then come and rob you later in the day, or take you or kidnap you and hold you for ransom or something. Imagine, if you will, Somalia without the water. That's what we're looking at. But I got to get there to see who? This guy, the king of the Kaonde people, King Mumena. King Mumena is a very famous guy. King Mumena, there you see him on the left in his royal garb, and you can see people kneeling before him. King Mumena, this is his royal palace, part of it right here. King Mumena is a high enough king that other kings call him king. Okay? He could be king of kings. Yeah. He's also the lion tribe. That's the Lion King, the real one. And so what happened is that there was a sweet lady in Denver collected with some effort all of, you remember when McDonald's was putting all the little Lion King things together and they had little toys? She got them all. And she gave them to me. She says, make sure the king gets them. And I went, okie doke. And so I gave them to him this year. King Mumena, I gave him that Seder plate. And I explained to him, what all the things it meant. Do you notice he's got a beard? In fact, this is the first time I've seen him with a beard. When he first saw me, he said, hey, look, I got a beard. I said, well, it looks good on you. And then he said, I did this because of you. I said, really? He said, yes. If I'm going to have a brother with a beard, I need to have a beard myself. He says, first of all, his people didn't like it. Oh, they were saying, oh, no, we don't want you to have a beard. No. And he went through all the ceremonies that they do in their tribe, and then he finally says, well, I'm going to shave it off. And then the people said, no, don't shave it off. Well, there you have it. But this is King Mumena, and I gave him, again, as you see, a copy of the mitzvot. I said, King, really good rules to live by in your kingdom. Mitzvot is all the commandments, as you know. Let me tell you a story. This is in his home. Who goes to the home of the king? I was invited in to the home of the king. This is not even Oval Office. This is a whole other place. This is his home. He's got his arm around me. By the way, I don't know what that thing is on my head. I hope so. It's not a halo, I assure you. That's not a bad hair day. King Mumena wears a bowler hat. That's his trademark hat. He was educated. He's, by the way, a doctor, Dr. Mumena. He was educated in England as well. Let me introduce you to his wife. There she is right there. See that? Lady, that's his wife. That's a picture in their dining room, their personal, private dining room in his personal, private residence. How did I get into that room? Well, he said, come, let's go sit down for lunch. I said, sure, whatever. And so I follow him, and he says, come here. And so you see there's a place set. If you look at the lower left part of the picture, there's a place set. It's got a plate upside down with some silverware on it. And if you look really hard to the left of the last little azure blue pot, there's another place set. There are two places set at the table. And I saw the queen come around to this side over here, and she pulled out the chair, and I thought she was going to sit. She was pulling it out for me. And the king says, sit. Yes, great king. And so I sat. And he took my plate and began serving me food. And I said, oh, no, great king. And so I grabbed his plate. I started serving him food. We have a strange relationship. He asked me to conduct Sabbath services at his royal compound. So let's take a look at that compound. I want you to see something. Since we have been going there, things have been happening. Look at the gates. Do you see something sort of a golden color up in the bars? Yeah. Kind of a Star of David thing going on there. I wonder if that's accidental. Let's take a look at the next slide. Look at, there's his royal seal. See on each side of it? This guy has really embraced the faith. Here is this is his conference room next to his the Oval Office, if you will, which is right on the other side of that wall you're looking at. He is seated at the table with some of his private friends, who have come to services, and I'm conducting services just like I do in my regular congregation. So there it is, looking the other direction. You can see the king. He's actually got his hat off, sitting there relaxed, taking notes. The king is taking notes. By the way, he's on my distribution list. Every time I crank out a message, he gets it. I hope he gets it as well as getting it. And so here we are, doing a message for the guy. And it's delightful. And then we go to the home of Clinton and Francis Burroughs for Oneg. And I want to talk to you about these people. They came out of South Africa. The Lord called both of them. You got to go to where I will tell you to go, and I want you to do my work there. They came out of South Africa all the way up to Solwezi. And the Lord said, okay, here's where you're supposed to be. Their car broke down, 1,000 things happened, but somehow they made it. And he's been doing God's work there. And Clinton and Francis are the most precious, precious people. They are very close friends with the king. They host him at their home a lot. Wow. This is amazing. Let me tell you the story next. This is the part you're going to love. I didn't find out about this until this year. I remembered our first meeting. I'm getting to where I'm enough relaxed with the king that I can actually talk to him about stuff. Who talks to kings? I got to tell you, I'm still blown away by the fact that I'm having a conversation with a king. I mean, he holds his scepter out to me all the time. And we remembered our first meeting. My first meeting was when he invited us to come up. We had lots of how shall I say, obstacles, but we got past them all. And then we finally got there. He said he's sending an emissary to pick us up. We went to Solwezi. We waited to where he told us to wait. He's sending a car to come get us and lead us in. Okay, so Alex and I and another guy are there, and we're waiting. And then we hear, well, he's on his way. Okay. And then I hear it's the prince. He sent his son to come get us. Okay, how about the butler? Why are we sending the prince to come get us? We ain't all that. But I'm sitting in the car, and all of a sudden I'm having a panic attack a little bit because I'm realizing something that's getting ready to be a real problem, possibly, because I will not bow before men. You saw all of his people are on their knees in front of him. When his car drives past, they all go on their knees. That's how they do that. That's how it's been there for 1,000, 2,000 years there. But I bow before God and him only. So I don't bow before kings. Oh my goodness. And here comes a prince. We may never get to see the king if I don't have right protocol before the prince. I'm sitting in the car and the prince pulls up. I'm sitting there. Everybody else gets out and I'm going, dear God, be with me. Please don't let me mess this up. This is too important. This is a king of 200 some odd thousand people scattered over 2 countries, and they could come to faith just like the queen of the Gobud did. And so guess what happens? I walk out. I go, okay, Lord, here we go. I stick out my hand toward the prince. He bows before me. I go, whoa, 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 no. Shakes his hand. He hauls me to the king. The king, I get to meet the king. We hung out in that conference room a long time waiting for him, and then he finally says, come in my office. We go in his office. I'm saying, okay, this is where it really hits the road right here. If I don't bow before him, I'm breaking all protocol. This could be the end. I mean, I might not even survive this. So I stick out my hand again. The king bows to me. Again, I have to rebuke. You rebuke a king? Yeah, I did. I couldn't stop my mouth from saying it. No, king, no. I'm but a man. Please, no. I was asking him, or actually, I didn't ask him, but Alex did later on. Why are you showing this guy so much honor? And the king told Alex, I don't see Jay. When he stands before me, I see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Whew. I'm glad I didn't find that out till it was after, because I couldn't have handled that kind of pressure. I ain't all that. I found out this trip that Clinton and the king had been talking because Clinton was counseling the king. The king says, I got this rabbi coming. I have no idea how to treat a rabbi. I'm so afraid I'm going to do something wrong. Huh? Is this rich? I'm so afraid I'm going to mess this up and he'll never come back to my land again. Oh, please don't let me mess this up. We laughed. He and the king and I sat at that table and laughed and slapped our legs, saying maybe God was in heaven. And if we heard thunder, it was him slapping his leg in joy, going, these guys are so messed up. Neither one of them gets what's going on here. And so by the time the meal was over, we would go anytime something was funny. Isn't that amazing? He's worried about me and I'm worried about him. Who could see that coming? And so this is the picture that everybody took after the little oneg time with the king of the Kayonde. You can see him there in his colorful shirt, and he's not wearing his bowler. He's being casual today. And you see those people, those precious, precious people. So the next thing we did was go to the congregation in Rufun. So I'm sorry it's going long. If you need to go, please feel free. But this story is so amazing. Rafunsa, the congregation in Rafunsa was, the village elders took their building and took their well. So the church building and the well that was drilled for that congregation was seized by the church, by the village elders, and these guys were kicked out. And now they're rebuilding, and that's the building. That's as far as they got so far. But they are still worshiping our Lord. And this is what it looks like on the inside. As you can see, they could use some chairs, right? They're doing the best they can. And so I showed up and I talked to them and encouraged them. Sweet, sweet, sweet people. And now we went to see the Jewish community in Lusaka. There is Mr. Isaacs. And Pam is laughing. I'm going to show you why in a second. Mr. Isaacs is an Ashkenazi from Lithuania by way of South Africa. This guy, when he walked around the corner, Mr. Isaacs, when he walks around the corner, I'm blinking my eyes going, I know this guy. I know this guy. Because my rabbi, my chief rabbi in Denver is that guy. You can't tell me that they aren't related. I mean, it's more striking even than that, actually. At any rate, so I made some inroads with this guy, and also Saul Radunsky. He's the leader of the Jewish community in Lusaka. That's Saul and his new wife right there, and there's me. I talked to Saul. I said, Saul, you don't have a rabbi right now. No, I don't. When I come back to Lusaka, how about I deliver a message in your congregation? Well, you can't talk about Jesus. And I said, okay. Because he doesn't realize the Torah is about Yeshua. It's all about him. It's in there. I ain't going to have to hide it. It's in there. Anyway, here was something that cool that happened in this thing. These guys sold their building. They have no building even now. And before they sold it completely, the benches came out. Those were 100-year-old benches, and they wound up. He gave them to Zambia Messianic Fellowship. There they are. That's what they looked like when they came out of that old synagogue. And after they were getting a little bit of sand on them, sandpaper, started looking a little better. And then they put a little bit of something, varnish on them, and they look a little better. And then, there they are. Before I left, they were installed in the congregational building there that you saw the first worship in. Now those benches are there. And I told Alex, I says, invite the Jewish community to worship there. Those are their benches. They should sit in them. We'll see. Wouldn't it be beautiful? I like it. I like it. Anyway, at about that time, something cool happened. The Lord intervened and my visa was extended. Do you see that piece of paper? You can't really read it. Maybe you can read that one, which is the one that really makes all the difference. Valid to 19th of December, 2022. That's what I had to have. And that was granted on 7 December, 2022. Hey, a day that will live in infamy. So the next thing we did was a birthday party for all the orphans at the Fleischer School. Now, here's the problem. We don't even know how old they are, some of them, and some of them don't know their birthdays. And there were a couple that never even knew their names. These kids are on the streets of Lusaka, in the worst place of Lusaka. But they have a birthday party for them every year for everybody. And Faye gets a cake, and that's what it looks like. Happy birthday, JFS, Jerome Fleischer School kids. A huge cake for those kids. These kids have not had cake. They don't know what a cake is. But when we got there and we were unloading it, it was in the back of a pickup, and you bet we drove carefully. Look what happened. All the kids in the neighborhood who couldn't go to the school but really wish they could be inside that door right there. We're going, oh, what's that? They hadn't seen a cake ever. There are the kids from the Jerome Fleischer School in their little courtyard. They made all sorts of presentations and songs and all sorts of delightful stuff. And there was, we cut the cake. And that little bitty boy was the top student in his group. Just a little group. He wasn't the big kid, but he got that. And here's the part that I love. You see all this food? It's amazing food. It's all delightful, beautiful, wonderful food. And these kids have almost never had a meal. In fact, most of these have never had a meal like this ever. We feed them every single day. Food like this, rare, hard to come by. In 2018, this is what it looked like in the school. We got as many as we could and crammed them all together and taught them. 2022, a new school ground, real desks, real little uniforms. They are learning. And they have the most delightful teachers. There's Faye right there, and right behind her is the school marm. And you can see the lessons on the blackboard. They got a real blackboard. Isn't that great? Here's the deal. We've got to expand the school grounds because there was no room for grade 11. We had already got them up that far, but that's as far as we could go. So I will go to Mumbwa and go to the Lemba. And so we went on these really nice roads to Mumbwa district. And then we went on to, a little lesser road, that one there. And then,
Mango is a bear in Tonga. Oh, good. Ila.
Yeah, the major.
That will make all the difference. Yeah, it is. In case you want to know what goes down this. People with all seats. And there is a typical Limba village right there. You can notice the parking lot. I want to talk about what we did last time I was there. In 2018, we met with the Lemba elders. That's them meeting in this room. That's me way at the far end. And then Alex is in there. I think he's on my right or on my left. You can see all the elders are in there. That lady in the purple is the matriarch of the entire clan. When she says something, people listen. We gave them Bibles in their own language. And then we met their standards. They don't let anybody in. Nobody gets to talk to these people. But we did, and they assembled from the other villages around these people to come, and they met with us, and we talked to them about God. And there's the group again, another angle. Somehow, they had a couch. I don't know where they got a couch, but they brought it out so that I could sit on it. I'm going, I'll sit on the ground. But you see on the right-hand side, the matriarch, she's sitting there too. All those other guys up front are the village elders. Those are the headmen. In 2019, we had been more success. Do you see we're studying God's word underneath a tree, right there close to that same village? Guess what they got? Bibles that we gave them that they are reading, and they got them open right there. And we're talking about God. The ladies have got Bibles too. They're right there. And you can look past me and you can see Pam, dressed as she is today. It's the same outfit. Close. And that's the people we met with right there. And you can see they're hanging on to me because they said, this guy will teach us. He'll show us the way of righteousness. This year, we had a pastor that says, well, let me help you. I will assemble them all, and we'll bring them, and you can meet with them. And I will help you. And we came to this building, and guys, my heart broke because there was almost nobody there. We think we know what happened. He didn't assemble them. He wanted to keep them for himself. He wanted to see if he could get them into his congregation and not have us have any influence. I'm really, really, really tired of church politics, guys. Really am. That's okay. We won't make that mistake again. I'm just telling you about, we had some great successes, had a few failures. This is one of the ones that where it hurts my heart right there. There's a radio program that reaches the entire nation of Zambia. It's called Shalom Zambia. It's run by Faye Yalenga, that's her on the right. Pictures being taken from the control room. She and I are on the other side at the microphones, and she regularly calls me to be part of that thing, and I enjoy it a lot. And then we went to a joint service of 3 congregations, the Chinkuli, Chibola, and Chianda congregations, and we went on this road. Actually, we're not on the road, we're in the ditch, which happened to be the smoothest place to drive. You can't tell, but that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. And if it's rainy season, you're not getting through there because the ditch is full of water, and there's 2 and 3 foot deep holes in the other part that are also full of water, and you can't tell how deep they are. Now, when we got there, they were all ready for us. There it is. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Come back. Play. No. Yes, thank you, John. This precious congregation, again, has no machitza down the middle, but there's the men on the one side and the ladies on the other. Looks like the men rate the benches and the ladies get to sit on the ground. Don't get that. That would be the opposite of what I would be able to do, but okay. So we went back to Lusaka. And I had and Alex needed to get a haircut. And we went to a mall where there was a coffee shop, and he says, okay, you sit here and you get some coffee. I'll go get my haircut. So he walks away, goes down the hall. I'm thinking, man, it's taking a long, he hadn't got that much hair. On a good day, he hadn't got that much hair, and he just takes forever to get back. And so I had no idea what took him so long, and then he comes back, and he's got a bigger smile than he normally has. I said, what is it? He had a guy right behind him. Let me show you. You see that fellow right there? That fellow right there encountered Alex Yalenga for the first time when he was standing behind a desk in the university library in Lusaka. He said, "Are you?" They kind of passed each other and looked like this. And Alex says, "I think I know you." And the guy says, "I think I know you." I said, "I talked a little bit." He says, "Are you Alex Yalenga?" "Yes. I listen to the radio program every week. I am the guy that said you could read the Bible." 30 years they had not seen each other. Right there. Isn't that cool? Isn't God cool? It was, wasn't it? Oh my goodness. And while I am there, I mean, the blessings just keep rolling on in because I find out about there's another king, a higher king, that maybe I can go see him. And no, I don't know how to say that name. But he's in the Katanga province of Congo, and he's a king over greater lands than even the king of the Kayonde. So let me talk to you about some praise reports. I'm going to go see if I can't meet that king. We've got somebody checking into that. I don't know what it is about me and kings. I keep telling people we have in America not done well with kings since about 17 something. So let's talk about some praise reports. We got some new school property. While I was there, I said, "Alex, we got to get it." "Thanks, guys. See you later. Be blessed." I said, "Alex, we got to get it." So I sent out a call. Please, please, please help. And all of a sudden, even before I left, half the money had already arrived. So the new school property arrived. We got it. That's what it looks like. Okay, not like guy. Good, is it? In fact, it is really, really bad. In fact, it had to be torn down. It was condemnable. Okay? But with that, these sweet people are getting ready to have a place to have another class right there. Let's talk about an amazing success story. This guy right there, you see him standing in the edge of the hangar there? He came to the day school from the orphans off the street in 2nd grade. Okay? That's how far back. He did really well in all the grades. And right now he's in pilot training. He's being sponsored by a group in Colorado. This man is on his way up. Success story. Grades 1 to 11 are full with a 90% pass rate, way above the government schools. And not only that, they're learning about God. They're coming out as believers. They're not going, they're going in as street kids, but they're coming out as believers. So I'm going to ask you to pray for Zambia. Why? Because it's flooding again. Let's talk about most urgent needs. Pray for these. We need $15,000 for building a new school. I don't know how come a water well takes so much money, but that's what they say. Crying out loud, you could buy a reservoir for that. Right now, only 120 of 218 children at the school have sponsors. The rest of them are not sponsored. Alex and Faye are handling that out of their own pocket. Shouldn't have to. The Malawi congregation needs a couple $100 to print liturgy for their services. The Chinkuli congregation needs $300 to repair their water well. And we need a bicycle. There's a leader who's overseeing 3 congregations And he travels right now between them 78 miles on foot to minister. Sure would be nice to have a bike for that guy. These are the kind of stuff that we see happening all the time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. When you pray for this work, it's God's work. It's getting done. Amazing fruit on this vine. It's heavily laden. That's right. Yes, we give. And thank you for the giving, because that means all the world. And folks, that is my presentation to you. And I want to thank you for hanging in there with me a little later today to see all this. It's a huge, huge work that's happening there. As you see, doors are opening like crazy. Again, I'll say it. That which Livingston would have loved to have seen is happening. It's happening in front of my eyes. Alex and I are shaking our heads till our neck gets sore going, I have no idea how this is happening. But we're going to push into it in faith. We are going to step up, step forward, and keep going. When I began, I could not go to Zambia. I resisted for 12 years. It really makes me sad to report that. I was out of God's will. I'll just tell you straight up. And then finally, the voice of God sounded a whole lot like Alex Yalenga. He said, come. And I said, okay, I'm coming. And now I can't not go back. Can't not. And now we've expanded into Malawi and maybe Congo, maybe Kenya. I don't know. I do not know. I got no answers for you. All I got is a desire to see God's will done. Thank you. If you have any questions or anything you want to talk about, let me know. I'll hang out until they shut the lights off.